She thought he'd break down. Instead, he vanished. No yelling, no accusations, just a cold, calculated escape. A year later, she found him, but she wasn't alone. What began as betrayal spiraled into a deadly game of deception, secrets, and survival. When your past comes knocking, will you be ready? I always imagined betrayal would come loud. Screaming matches, slamming doors, the sharp crash of something shattering. But when it finally arrived, it was quiet. No dramatic confessions or lipstick on a collar. Just a slow, creeping distance. The kind you don't notice until you realize the silence has replaced the conversations, and the warmth has turned to something cold and hollow. Her name was Lisa. We'd been married for 3.5 years. We weren't perfect, but I believed in us. That belief is what blinded me. It let me explain away the odd things. Late nights at work, sudden changes in her mood, the newfound interest in her appearance. Small things easy to ignore on their own. But together, they formed a pattern I could no longer overlook. It started with whispers, barely audible phone calls taken on the back porch, texts she'd smile at but never share. Then came the absences. Overtime, she'd say, or team dinner. But she never looked me in the eye when she said it. One night, she came home smelling like cologne. Not mine. When I looked at her, she hesitated. Just a second too long. Then came the excuse. Some story about hugging a coworker goodbye. I didn't challenge it. I didn't shout or cry. I just nodded. That's when everything inside me shifted. I wasn't going to beg for answers. I wasn't going to make a scene. She'd already taken something from me. My trust. I wasn't about to hand her my dignity too. Instead, I decided to disappear. Leaving isn't just about walking out the door. It's about erasing yourself in a way no one expects. I spent 2 quiet weeks preparing. Moving cash into hidden accounts. Wiping my digital footprint. Telling her I had late nights at work while I was really closing accounts, packing essentials, and plotting a silent escape. She never noticed. She was too distracted by whoever was waiting on the other end of her texts. The night before I left, we had dinner together like any other evening. She chatted about a possible promotion, her phone buzzing nonstop beside her. She didn't check it once. Probably didn't want me seeing his name. I watched her carefully, not with anger, just a kind of quiet finality. This was the last time I'd see her. The last lie I'd listen to. That night, while she slept, I removed my wedding ring and placed it beside her phone. I left a note in a sealed envelope on the kitchen counter. It said only this: I know. Enjoy your new life. I'm taking mine back. I left before sunrise. Took only what I needed. Keys, phone, cash. No trail, no hint of where I was headed. I cut off everything: social media, phone number, even my job. Started over in another state under another name. Didn't tell a soul, not even my family. She'd find out eventually. And when she did, she'd realize the man she once thought would always be there had walked out without a word. Just like she had, only I meant it. For the first few months, I thought about her every day. Not out of love, but out of curiosity. What did she do when she realized I was gone? Did she try calling? Did she panic? Cry? Or did she shrug it off and move on with the man she thought was worth losing me for? Eventually, the questions stopped. The silence became comforting. I found peace in anonymity, in the clean slate I'd created. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't broken. I was free. I built a simple life, no attachments, no complications. I worked, read, kept to myself. I wasn't hiding. I just wasn't interested in being found. Until one day she found me. I saw her the moment I stepped out of the cafe. Coffee in hand, just like any other morning. But this time, she was there. Across the street, standing still like she'd just seen a ghost. Lisa. Took me a second to recognize her. Not because she'd changed, but because I'd stopped expecting to ever see her again. For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. Then she crossed the street, fast. Her pace, her posture, it wasn't casual. It was desperate. "Mark," she called out, breath catching as she reached me. "Please wait." I didn't. I turned and walked. She followed, calling my name again, louder this time. I didn't stop until she reached out and grabbed my arm. That was her first mistake. I stopped, turned, looked her in the eye. There was nothing left in me. No longing, no sadness. Just the calm stillness of a man who'd already said goodbye. I didn't think I'd ever see you again, she said, her voice shaking. Maybe you should have stayed gone, I replied. Her mouth opened, then closed. No rehearsed excuses. No manipulative tears, at least not yet. Just silence. I waited. She floundered. I wanted to explain, she finally whispered. Explain what? I asked. How you lied for months. How you smiled while stabbing me in the back. Save it. She blinked, caught off guard by the indifference. I gave her a chance to speak, a moment to say whatever she came to say. I was stupid, she said. He left me, used me, took everything and disappeared. I raised an eyebrow. That got my attention. Let me guess. You're broke? She didn't answer right away, but her silence said enough. So now you're here, I said, looking for help from the man you discarded. No, she insisted. I didn't know who else to turn to. That was the moment it clicked. This wasn't about love or guilt. It was survival. She had nowhere else to go. She was grasping at anything left. You think I owe you something? I asked. No. I thought maybe. I cut her off. You lost that right. I turned to leave again. That's when she dropped the second bomb. He's looking for you. I stopped cold. Slowly turned to face her again. What did you say? He's looking for you, she repeated. Brent, the guy I left you for. That's not even his real name. I stared at her, waiting for more. He used me, Mark. He's not who he said he was. He's a con artist. He cleaned me out and disappeared. But then, a few weeks ago, he came back. Started showing up. Watching me. I think he's dangerous. What does that have to do with me? She looked down. Because I told him about you. Everything inside me went still. Excuse me? I didn't mean to, she said quickly. It just came out. After he left me, I was trying to make him jealous. I told him how you vanished, how you were smart, how you disappeared without a trace. I didn't think he'd care, but he did. He got curious, started asking questions, asking if I could find you. You used me as a story, I said flatly. She didn't deny it. And now what? He wants me to teach him how to disappear? I don't know, she whispered. But I think he's dangerous, Mark. Really dangerous. And if he finds you, he won't. I snapped. Because you don't know how to find me. She hesitated. And that pause told me everything. Lisa, I said carefully, how did you find me? She looked panicked. I didn't tell him, I swear. But after he came back, he said he had ways. He gave me a name, place to start. And I followed it. I got lucky. You didn't get lucky, I said. Someone helped him. Maybe even someone close to me. No one did, she insisted. He's connected. He said if I ever found you, I should tell him. I felt the chill creep in. So you came running to me instead, I said. I didn't tell him where you are. Promise. But if he was watching me, and he knew I was looking for you, then he knows I'm here. She nodded. Everything I'd built, the clean break, the quiet life, the invisible footprint was compromised. And it wasn't by accident. I had become a target. Because of her. I studied her for a long time. I had two choices. One, shut the door and walk away. Leave her to her mess. Or two, find out how deep the mess really was. Because if what she said was true, then this wasn't just about the past. It was about survival. You said you needed help, I said. She nodded. Then you better start talking. And this time, don't leave anything out. She did. And what she told me next changed everything. Lisa sat at my kitchen table, hands clenched, voice tight. Everything about her screamed panic. But I didn't interrupt. I needed the whole story. His real name is Daniel Marsh, she said. Brent was fake. So was everything else. The job, the background, the charm, it was all a front. He's a con man. A professional. I stayed quiet, let her unravel it herself. He drained my accounts, disappeared, left me with debt, eviction notices, and no explanation. I thought that was the end of it, until he came back, watching me, showing up at places I went, calling from blocked numbers. She looked at me, waiting for sympathy. She got none. And this brilliant idea to tell him about me. I said, that was when? After he left. I was angry. I said you were smarter than him, that you vanished and no one could find you. I didn't know he'd fixate on it. You gave a con man a reason to hunt me. I didn't mean to. Doesn't matter. You did. She shrank back but didn't argue. Good. At least she understood the gravity. And now? I asked. He said if I ever saw you again, I should tell him that he had people, that he could find anyone. I sat back, calculating. If Daniel was as good as she claimed, he wouldn't need much. A whisper, a clue, a direction. If he knew she was here, and if he was desperate, he'd already be closing in. What does he want from me? I asked. She hesitated. Then, he thinks you know how to vanish, better than he does. That made me pause. He wants me to help him disappear? She nodded. He's not just on the run, Mark. He's being hunted. Other victims. Maybe worse. He needs out. And you're his blueprint. I stood, pacing. So you dragged him right to my door? I muttered. Nice. I didn't know where else to go. Of course you didn't. My first instinct was to kick her out and move again. Burn this new identity and start over. But that wouldn't fix the problem. Daniel wouldn't stop. Now that he'd heard about me, I was part of his escape plan. And people like him, they don't let go of leverage easily. If I wanted to end this, I had to control it. You said he's watching you, I said. That he told you to call him if you saw me. Lisa nodded. Then we give him what he wants. She blinked. What? We set a trap. You call him. Tell him you found me. Set up a meeting. Somewhere public, neutral. She looked terrified. You want me to lure him? No, I said. I want him to think he still has the upper hand. You're just bait. The next evening, Lisa made the call. From a burner phone I provided. She sounded nervous, which was perfect. Authentic. Daniel, I found him. Mark. He's here. He wants to help you. Said he knows how to make people disappear. Silence on the other end. Then, where? She gave him the address of a rundown motel just off the highway. A place where no one asks questions. He said he'd be there in an hour. I was already waiting. Lisa arrived 10 minutes before he did. I kept to the shadows, watching the lot. She stood under a flickering streetlight, arms crossed, scanning the road. She wasn't acting. She was scared. Are you sure about this? She asked when I approached. If this works, we end it tonight, I said. Headlights cut through the dark. A sleek car rolled into the lot. Daniel stepped out. Tall, confident, casual. He smiled when he saw Lisa, like he still believed she belonged to him. Sweetheart, he said. Look at you. You did good. She nodded stiffly. He's inside, waiting. Daniel glanced around, suspicious. But then he moved. I waited until he was 2 steps past me, then stepped into the light. He froze. Well, I said. The ghost finally shows himself. His expression didn't change, but I saw the flicker in his eyes, recognition, followed by calculation. You must be Mark, he said slowly. Heard a lot about you. I can't say the same, I replied. He tilted his head. So, you're the guy who knows how to disappear. I have to admit, I'm impressed. And you're the guy who thinks he can con everyone, even now. He chuckled. Come on. No hard feelings, right? I just need a clean slate. You help me vanish, I pay well. You already paid, I said. He narrowed his eyes. Excuse me? I pulled out my phone. Hit play. A recording filled the air. His voice, laughing, leaning close to another woman, saying, My wife? She's just a walking ATM. Daniel's face hardened. You've been digging. No, I said. You're just sloppy. He stepped closer, a smirk returning. You think you've got leverage? I don't think, I said. I know. His smirk cracked, and for the first time he looked nervous. I moved in. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to wire every dollar you stole from Lisa. Now, then you're going to vanish. For good. And if I ever hear my name again, anywhere, I'll make sure you're the one being hunted. He clenched his jaw, sizing me up. Then, slowly he pulled out his phone, began typing. A few minutes later, Lisa's screen lit up with the alert. Full transfer. Every dollar. Now go, I said. Daniel looked between us, weighing his odds. Then he turned and walked into the night. Gone. Daniel was gone, but the tension lingered. Lisa stared at her phone like she couldn't believe the money was real. The alert glowed on her screen, confirming the full transfer. The silence between us was thick, but not with relief, with expectation. I don't know what to say, she whispered. You don't need to say anything, I replied, already turning away. Her voice cracked. Maybe now we could talk. About us. I stopped but didn't turn around. There is no us, Lisa. You made sure of that. But I never stopped loving you. I faced her, calm, cold. But I did. The words hit her harder than anything else I could have said. She blinked fast, like she was trying to hold back something. Tears, maybe, regret more likely. But I didn't care. Not anymore. You think this changes things? I asked. You came to me because you had nowhere else to go. Don't confuse necessity with love. I didn't know what else to do. And now you don't have to. You're safe. You have your money. You can go. I thought helping me meant something. It did. It meant I don't want a con man dragging me into his mess. That's all. She opened her mouth to argue, but I was done. I turned and left her standing in that parking lot, alone with everything she claimed to have missed. A week later, I packed up again. My lease was month to month for a reason. No real furniture, no roots. I'd built this life with one rule: never stay too long. And after everything, it was time to go. I didn't leave out of fear. Daniel was gone. I had leverage over him now, evidence that could land him in prison if he so much as looked in my direction again. No, I left because Lisa had reappeared, and I refused to let her become a chapter in my new story. Before leaving, I made one final call to my lawyer. I had the recordings, emails, transaction logs. If Daniel ever resurfaced, I'd be ready. But part of me knew he wouldn't. Men like him knew when they were beaten, and he'd been beaten by someone he thought would never fight back. Lisa texted me 3 days after I left. I didn't read it. I deleted it before opening it. She had become the kind of person I used to be, someone clinging to hope that wasn't coming back. What she didn't understand was this: I didn't leave because I hated her. I left because I refused to become the man I was when I was with her. A man who waited, who wondered, who excused lies and rationalized betrayal. That man was gone, buried in a city she would never find again. Some nights I'd think back to our first years. The good ones. They existed. That's what made it all so painful at first. But with distance, those memories stopped feeling real. Like watching a movie you used to love, only to realize you'd grown out of it. Lisa wasn't a villain in a thriller. She was just someone who made bad choices, then kept making them. Someone who thought love was permanent even when actions said otherwise. But life doesn't work that way. People don't stay just because they once said they would. She had learned that the hard way, and I wasn't going to be the one who helped her forget it. A month later, I settled in a small coastal town. Quiet, clean, disconnected. I rented a new place, changed my number. Again, no ties, no trails, just peace. One morning, I sat on a park bench, coffee in hand, watching the tide roll in. No drama, no ghosts, no messages waiting to be answered. Just the life I'd earned by walking away when it mattered most. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. Not because I won anything, but because I hadn't lost myself. I didn't hear from Lisa again. No texts, no calls, no surprise visits. Whether she finally understood or just gave up, I didn't care. She became part of the past I no longer felt connected to. But what lingered wasn't her. It was the realization of how easily a life can be rewritten. I hadn't just changed locations or jobs. I changed the way I existed. No longer reactive, no longer hopeful in the wrong places. I had taken back control. I'd expected satisfaction from confronting Daniel, from turning the tables. But what I felt was something sharper: clarity. He didn't just represent the man Lisa cheated with. He represented everything I used to tolerate: manipulation, deceit, people who took what they wanted without consequence. Making him vanish was never about revenge. It was about cutting off the last limb of a toxic history I never wanted to relive. After the dust settled, I spent time thinking about what betrayal had really taught me. Not just what Lisa did, but what I allowed. I had been the kind of man who rationalized warning signs. I believed in loyalty so much I ignored the obvious. In a way, Lisa didn't just break my trust. She revealed how fragile it had become. And so I made a promise to myself. I wouldn't lose faith in people, but I'd never hand over blind trust again. I would live on my terms, answer to no one, and never again wait around for someone to prove they cared. Months passed. I built a life without expectation. I worked freelance, remote gigs, quiet contracts, no office politics. I made enough to live well and save more. I joined no clubs, dated no one, and gave no one the kind of access that could be used against me. Some might call that loneliness. I called it freedom. One day, while checking in with a contact who occasionally fed me work, I received an encrypted email, an article link about a man arrested in Arizona for fraud and identity theft. Daniel Marsh. He'd tried to run another scam. Got careless. Someone tipped off the authorities. The article didn't mention me, but I recognized one of the aliases he'd used. He was facing federal charges. I saved the article, then deleted the email. There was no need to respond. My part in that story was long over. As for Lisa, I eventually heard about her secondhand. A former mutual friend I hadn't blocked yet posted something vague. People change when they have no choice. It was about her, I was sure. She hadn't gone back to Daniel. That was the one smart move she made. Whether she learned from it, I'll never know. But in the end, it didn't matter. This wasn't a story about a woman who cheated or a man who disappeared. It was about a reset. About understanding that freedom doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes it comes quietly, after you've walked away from everything familiar and realized you're still standing. I'm not the same man I was in Denver. That man waited for others to do the right thing. This man doesn't wait. He acts. He chooses his own peace, even if it means walking away from people who once meant everything. Somewhere out there, Lisa is rebuilding. Maybe she's changed. Maybe not. Daniel is likely sitting in a cell, replaying his scams in reverse, wondering where it all went wrong. For me, it went right the moment I stepped out the door and didn't look back. If there's a moral to this story, it's this. You can't control who betrays you, but you can control what you do next. You don't have to yell or fight or demand justice. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is vanish, rebuild, and live better than the people who tried to break you. Revenge isn't always fire. Sometimes it's silence.